process of painting changes over time, as any craft or skill. You develop different types of relationship with the raw material, different priorities and so on. It's said that there's so much colour around now by comparison with former times that changes our relationship to colour in art, and I'm sure that's true. I started the Miriorama series in 1985, largely as a way of being able to continue doing atmospheric landscapes without making them separate from one another, but having the idea that they were all going to join up. You could have a very coherent composition of 4 panels, but then you just rearrange the panels and it's all gone. You've still got a painting, but you've got a completely different painting. The fragmentation, the endlessness, it's a kind of non-composition, and I like that, obviously. The landscape's geographical location is sort of irrelevant. You're talking about a mood that can have elements of different places and different responses to the natural world. And so in a sense, the viewer makes the landscape, the viewer makes the location. I just make the elements, and I actually prefer it when somebody else makes the decisions about how the paintings are to be lined up with each other. About 10 years ago now, I just made a decision for various reasons that I was going to use just 4 specific colours, and I've never felt particularly restricted by them. It's actually been quite liberating, and you're seeing all the time what you can do with a limited range of resources, and I'm very comfortable with that as a sort of framework within which to work. And the colours slide in and out of fashion, and I was also very interested, this happened a long time ago when I went to Germany using a particular range of colours, and to a German eye these colours were incredibly exotic, whereas in Australia they look fairly kind of normal, and vice versa. The phrase punk classicism has been used of this work, and it's not wrong. It's certainly not a description I'd walk away from. My practice as a painter began in this sort of do-it-yourself era of the late 70s, when people were just not being inhibited by the fact that they didn't have any particular skills. As long as you could play 3 chords and could buy a cheap second-hand guitar, that was enough to play, and some of that aesthetic obviously translated into the visual arts very much at the time. And, the classicism was something that was and remains important to me. Let's not forget that referring back to models from the past can be a sort of radical exercise. It was once said rather astutely by a Melbourne artist, Tony loves doing everything the wrong way, and I think that's part of this do-it-yourself aesthetic thing in a way. It's assumed that the history of art, even say in a period like the Renaissance, that everybody was about high degrees of finish and skill and everything else. It's actually not true. It's actually the case that there are a number of very interesting artists who could be meaningfully described as very crude. The original Miriorama of 1824 was a series of printed panels, so in a way the idea of reproduction is built into the Miriorama project. It's something that finds its natural home on a printed page, in my view, and the thing is not simply about the original artwork. This project was intended to be something that was largely conceptual, that was not about what one might see going out into the bush or outside of one's window. It was about landscape paintings in books. The process that I've started now is to actually include the traditional approach of going out, observing. That's something that is part of the Miriorama idea now. It was not something that was in the idea at the beginning, but it isn't 1985, and I like the fact that I can pull these things into the project without changing its fundamental character. It was a continuous work that just goes on, and I think that is very much part of the idea, that it doesn't have a specific end to it, and in a way it even doesn't end when I stop doing them through death or some other reason, that all the stuff that I've already done can just be rearranged, so it's a completely different thing.